In this video, we will show you how to replace your rear wheel speed ABS sensor on this Ford Fusion. This will be located inside of your rear wheel well. Let's get into it. Safely raise and support the rear of the vehicle so we can remove the wheel. To remove the wheel, we have 5 19mm lug nuts. Once those are off of there, you can go ahead and take this out of place. With the wheel out of the way, let's have a look along the back side of the brakes here. We can feel the ABS wire making its way all the way down to the knuckle. Now down in this area, you're going to find an 8mm headed mounting bolt. We can remove that. If it feels like it's stuck in position, just try to rock it back and forth. Some penetrant could be helpful in this area. Continuing from there, you may have to use a hammer and a chisel of some sort. For me personally, I like to use a flat blade screwdriver. We're not going to tap very hard, but we do want to rock that ABS sensor in the knuckle. A little more penetrant here. Now I'll use my flat blade screwdriver, rest it up against the ABS sensor mounting port, and gently tap on it with my hammer. Just want to try to rock this back and forth, breaking it free, but definitely not breaking it off. We don't want to break the sensor off inside that knuckle. Once you do find that you have movement rocking it back and forth, typically you can try to gently pry this up while lifting on the wire at the same time. Just try to get underneath the ear. Grab that wire. Just lightly tugging. Once you've pulled it out of the knuckle, inspect the sensor. Double check to make sure it's not broken. If it looks like it's only about half this length, it could be broken inside the knuckle, and that's an issue. This one looks fine, so let's continue on. Let's move along the ABS wire. We have an area where it's mounted to a metal bracket. Pull that up and out of place. Now we can follow this along the wiring harness. There's just a couple small hooks. At this point, it leads to another metal bracket. To dislodge this, we'll be using a small prying device. I have a trim tool. You can also continue on with that small flat blade screwdriver if necessary. Just want to get in between this area and separate it. Now we'll focus on the connector here. If you were to lift up on this, we're going to have to pay attention underneath this portion of the connector. There's actually a red locking tab that you have to grab hold of and pull it out of place. Now I sprayed some penetrant in this area. We'll continue on to the locking tab. Now there's actually a tab that you'd have to gain access right underneath this area and press straight up, and then you should be able to dislodge this. If you have a hard time, you could dislodge the entire wiring harness from its bracket. We'll just pry this out of place. With that dislodged, you can see that red locking tab pulled out and away. And then we also have the squeezable tab. We'll go ahead and squeeze in on this and separate it. If you have a hard time separating it still, you can make your way along the outboard side here and just carefully make your way in with a pocket screwdriver or a small pick and gently pry on that locking tab from this angle, prying it away. Let's take hold of that ABS sensor and the wiring harness and separate the two. A quick inspection for corrosion, of course. And there it is, friend. With the sensor out of there, let's continue on to cleaning and inspecting the knuckle where the brand new sensor will sit. It's important when cleaning this port, you never want to use any parts cleaner because the parts cleaner will make its way down to the wheel bearing. As we clean this, let's be extremely careful not to push anything inside that port. A thorough inspection inside of each of these two ports. One does lead down to the wheel bearing, as I mentioned. The other one's for the mounting bolt. Make sure there's no foreign debris in either of these areas. Okay, friend, now we can install our brand new rear ABS sensor. We'll start with the electrical connector. Go ahead and press this in, listen for a click, and then lock it in with that red locking tab. After confirming that's properly locked in, let's secure this to its mounting bracket. Just give that a wiggle, make sure it's secured. If it's not, you could use a wire tie if necessary. Let's continue on to our next couple mounting points here. This one goes into the bracket as well, a little bit further towards the rear. Now we have the hooked areas that are on that wiring harness. Continuing on, we have that rubber grommet that slides into the metal bracket. And now we can install our ABS sensor. Carefully start sliding this down in here. As we slide it down, you want to make sure you're going as straight as possible and not going in at an angle where it could cause damage to the ABS sensor. If you have to tap it in with anything such as a hammer, you did not clean that hole properly and there could be a restriction. Carefully align your mounting bolt hole, start in the mounting bolt, and torque that to 80 inch-pounds. Just make sure we're going in straight here. You do not want to cross thread this. Now it's time to install the wheel. We'll get this in place, start on all 5 of our 19mm lug nuts. Once they're bottomed out, we can get the wheel safely on the ground, torque each of these to 100 foot-pounds. With the wheel safely back down on the ground, we're going to torque each one of our lug nuts in a crisscross manner to 100 foot-pounds. Torqued. Okay, friend, we finished the installation of our ABS wheel speed sensor. At this point, you want to go ahead and take your vehicle for a road test and make sure you have no lights on the dash. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.